been working on that all day. The next item on your agenda is retirement report. This is an issue that's brought up at your quote mid-year retreat. I have asked both Kevin and Harrison to look into this from two standpoints. One from financial impact of the retirement is an advantage point that Harrison has looked at its impact on the county, and Kevin to provide you data and information regarding our current retirement plan options that are available. So, shall we turn to that section? Kevin, if you'll begin, please.
Yes, sir. One of the things I did start off in handing out to y'all is our defined benefit pension plan summary of plan provisions. This is provided to all new employees. Gives an idea of how the entire program itself will run. So if you have any particular questions afterwards, most everything will be answered here, as well as the different options at retirement are on the last page. But it does give great insight, and that's provided by GetCorp for letting people know exactly what they're looking for retirement-wise. Lowndes County, like I stated, we do have a defined benefit retirement program, and traditionally, defined benefit program is the most popular program that's actually offered by local governments. On the second page of the presentation, it just basically gives you a definition that a defined benefit program, it basically promises a specified monthly benefit on a retirement that is predetermined by a formula. And in that formula, they're utilizing earnings history as well as years of service and age. The other most popular program that you hear out there that a lot of private industries have gone to is a defined contribution. That's a retirement plan where the employer and the employee and or both make contributions, but the benefits are based on whatever contributions are put in plus any investment earnings. And that's one of those things where the employee themselves have to be a little savvy in regards to the marketplaces, and they really need investment counseling to understand how those are going to impact them. Another type of retirement plan that exists for an additional avenue of retirement savings for our employees has to do with deferred compensation, a 457 plan. Currently we have 3 companies that come in: Security Benefits, Nationwide, and GetCorp. And that's an individual investment account controlled by the employees themselves. And so that's a sit down between the employee and GetCorp or Nationwide and Security Benefits to discuss their options and to move their monies in directions that will benefit them in the future. And one of the things that you get is, this is usually when people come in, it's usually the one question I get on a regular basis in new interviews is there an actual retirement plan, as well as what is the vesting requirements for that. And when you start answering those questions, that's usually the first thing that they're basically interested in. Is there an opportunity of sustaining myself later on in that retirement time period? And that's very, very important for individuals. A lot of people do come from the private industry themselves, and they like the stability that's offered, even though they're not making the larger incomes per position. That does provide them with that benefit after retirement. So with stating that, of course, the vesting is 10 years. The current enrollment that we have, as you can see on that sheet, we have 133 retirees that are being paid currently, as well as 17 beneficiaries, as well as 8 disabled in pay status. And basically what that is that a current employee who is determined to be disabled by the Social Security Administration, they ended up getting an award letter. There's a possibility of them receiving early benefits for that. We have 8 individuals who are in that particular program. Your deferred vested or former employees, there's 250 former employees that before being terminated or leaving the county had attained a vesting. And those individuals, those monies and those obligations are still in the system for that time period that they reach their normal retirement age.
We have any projections on the cost, future cost of that?
Not on that particular category in itself, unless Harrison has any insight on the formula that they utilize for that.
No, I won't even attempt to go there. It's extremely low.
And of course, currently active participants. We currently have 482 active employees that are on the system. Not all of them are vested at the current time. What we're looking at there is that the average age of those individuals is 44, with an average years of service of 11 years.
Which means most of them are vested then.
Most of them, in all likelihood, have become vested.
You become vested at what?
At
10 years.
10 years.
And that was adopted in January 1 of 2011. Our vesting prior to that period in time was a 5-year vesting.
Right.
And then the vesting was moved up to 10 years. Always of interest as well is the current benefit payout on the next sheet. You can see those categories also placed there for your retirees, beneficiaries, and of course your disabled. You have your average annual benefit, and we went ahead and broke them down to show you what the average monthly benefit is. One of the things that's most important to people is your income ratio as far as what your regular income was and what you'll actually be retiring. So they call that income replacement ratio. Down at the bottom, you see the retirement formula. And so basically, we have an example there of an employee who retires after 15 years of service with an average annual salary of $25,000. So basically, you take the multiplier by the average salary, all right, then you multiply that number by the years of service, and it comes up with an annual benefit. That annual benefit, of course, is then divided out by 12, and you end up getting a monthly benefit for those 15 years of service of $546.88. The income replacement ratio or percentage is what people are looking for their retirement. How much of their income can they replace with their retirement funds, other investments, stuff like that. In this particular example, this individual would only really be replacing 26% of their income for the calendar year itself. So there's hopes, of course, that they have Social Security, maybe other investments, but we know that there are difficulties in getting people invested in their time to be able to make those additional investments so they can have an additional return later on, like from a 457 plan or other options that are available to them.
Question?
Yes, in regards to the disabled and pay status, so we have what does that generally consist of?
Individuals that have been determined to be disabled to some degree due to health reasons, that have received a determination from Social Security as being disabled. That's the criteria that we utilize in determining whether or not we'll actually pay them out through that process.
How long do we carry them, I guess is the question.
Well, we carry them through the normal retirement, and then they come off of a disabled retirement pension into their normal retirement pension. So it just works its way out to what their normal retirement would be, which would be 65, and then it switches over to the normal.
So say they get injured or disabled on the job in the 30s or 40s.
As long as
carry
they're
over to like 62.
As long as they're vested, as long as they've reached that vested time period and they were an active employee at the time that it occurred.
And is there a particular, I guess, calculation formula for pay a salary?
Yeah, that was one of those things that I started to put together formulas, but the vastness of the formulas and the degrees of them, quite impressive, but each does have a calculation as to how it's figured. And, there are penalties, of course, for early retirement and stuff like that, and that would be disabled would have a unique formula, of which I don't currently have right now.
Any other questions?
Okay, I guess my big concern on this is trying to push this issue of moving to a defined contribution plan or a blended retirement program of defined benefit pension with a blend of defined contribution. And I don't know what the number is. I don't know if it's 70/30, 50/50, 60/40, I don't know what that is. My concern is the long-term liability that it will put the county in as more and more of these 482 begin to retire.
Of course, you see it in the news all the time regarding pension plans
Right.
and whatnot. I mean, really what you're funding is an ongoing amount, your yearly accrued cost, as well as taking care of a payment on a unfunded liability that works itself out. Our unfunded liability is amortized for a 15-year period, so it's always adjusting and moving in and of itself. So right now, about 50% of what we're currently paying is going towards that unfunded liability. You have some places like Bibb County, Bibb and Macon came together this January as consolidated government. They had two different plans in existence. Well, combined their unfunded liability was over $37 million.
And that's what scares me to death.
So they closed those particular plans and came up with new plans for new employees that had more of a blending of it when it comes to contributions from both sides.
To be clear, I
Have we
think,
looked at Crawford's plan, the idea of doing something like that, or the viability as we move forward with this? Are we in a position of just, looking at a projection out, of which we've done a lot of, is this something we really need to be paying a lot of attention to for this time?
Well, this is a really long-term issue. Let me stress, we're not we don't have an answer today. We don't even begin to have an answer today. What we're considering is getting the people with the expertise to come in and provide that sort of data that you're asking for, and to give us a better idea of where this is going to evolve. All we have are my instincts and Kevin's instincts, and I want to stress too that whatever change, if there was a change in the plan, say going from defined benefit to defined contribution, you would only want to impact new employees.
Yeah.
sure,
I
we're all
want to
100%
stress
on
that to the board, hear that.
My-
New employees.
my concern is,
And that's a big if.
Right.
You know, it's got to be analyzed.
well, my concern is, Harrison, this was brought up a year ago at Bill's first retreat out at the farmhouse.
Right.
And you're saying we still don't have any recommendations for you guys. We can tell you where we are, but we don't have any recommendations on where to go.
Now, we're gathering the data, but there's been a lot going on, and we certainly haven't been given directives to move forward and get further studies on it, further analysis. It's not something that you're going to harness in next year or 5 years from now.
I'm with you, but if we keep
Yeah.
rolling it down the road, the
Oh.
same where when you said,
I agree.
we
I
finally
agree.
got a solution on street lighting, Richard and I
Yeah.
brought that up 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so when he said, we move quick when we move, well,
Yeah,
that's,
exactly.
I know this is you're not gonna have any impact on any of this for 20 years.
Right.
I understand that, till that next generation starts going into retirement. But if we don't do something today, we're not gonna see something tomorrow.
And that's where we're trying to get
Right.
to, and starting to move forward now in terms of really looking at it actuarially. You're looking sound that I know from just information that I see out there, and Kevin got some information. Surprisingly, there've been some counties who have gone from defined contribution to defined benefit recently.
And I'm not looking to go 100% one way or the other. I'm thinking there's probably a blend.
I don't think there is a blend there, because when you have a defined benefit, you have to allow everybody to participate. And you have to provide that benefit with your food. The only way to shut that defined benefit off, to cut it off, is just to lock out the program. And then you go to a defined contribution. You can't have a mix of it. You either have one
Keep the
that.
people in the defined benefit who are already in it. but-
Sure.
But if you close it today, for example, this day forward, all new employees become under
Defined
defined contribution.
contribution.
Close the door and start a whole new.
Exactly, and most counties who have done this, some have done it years ago, some, like Kevin just mentioned, have done it this year. They have closed that door and gone to defined contribution. And they're worried about the same thing, the bubble that we're about to hit where, like, for instance, we just heard today, 30% of Robin's staff is reaching retirement age.
We don't wanna wind up like General Motors in the post office, it's got basically what's driving their whole budget, determining their whole
Right.
business
And-
is their pension plan.
And the baby boomers all in the next decade retiring out, and so you got a lot more people out there using the retirement plan. And so the county's having to contribute more and more. Now, supposedly, I don't know how actuaries do their job, but they're watching that and giving you analysis and saying, put this much money in. And it's gone up a couple $100,000 every year, and that's not outrageous in terms of, but if the markets go down, you get a lot more people living longer on the plan, that could suddenly take a tilt and
It's
skyrocket.
all based on projection.
It's all projections.
Richard
Yeah.
Coffey, we've got to deal with this.
Judge Gus.
Richard, you have a question?
No.
You sure?
I'm sure, no, it's been addressed.
Okay. There's a couple of things about this. Yes, we did begin looking at this. Kevin has met with Gepford on, I don't know how many occasions, in analyzing the numbers where we are. Now, we had to, under our, gas, we had to allocate the, OPEB, we had to allocate an amount of money for our retirement benefit. Previously, that number, we knew we had to,
Health benefits is what I'm.
well, I'm talking about when we did the, for our retirement, that's when we started calculating long-term and having to set that money, earmark that money.
Right, and basically, according to GASB, you have to present what's in this report and your own report.
Right.
And you have to be
But
transparent.
the point being that while this is something that you need to begin to look at, you're not taking on water. Your ship is not sinking. We are in good shape. Should we begin to look at it? Should we be cautious? Yes, but I don't think that you should leave here today with a heavy concern over this. Now, the information that's been in the news lately of these cities and counties that have faced this issue, I would say at least 95% of those have been based on union contracts that were established over a number of years on that retirement that far, far exceeds anything coming close to where we are with our contribution. Harrison, am
Yeah,
I wrong
I
on
would
that?
say it's a combination of that and the fact that those governments were doing poorly anyway. So even though they may have been directed, you really should put in this much money to the retirement plan, they didn't have the money, they just didn't put it in.
Right.
And so at the end of 5 to 10 years, when they're finally about to get a belly up, there's a shortage in the retirement plan as well.
I have a question. Have you, saw any other counties that have offered early retirement packages that were possibly beneficial to the counties that have it? What would they look like?
I don't know the details behind it, but there have been, they have programs they put together and offer retirement early to some, and during this economy, it's been used by universities, et cetera. And I don't know how they package it, though. The downside of that, of course, is you're losing expertise that you may not, that you need. On the other hand, it may be good for that person to move on if they can do it, and if it meets their financial needs, and allow that position to open up somewhere else.
If you look at this page, you'll notice those counties that are listed here. 5 of those counties, Kevin, I'm not sure where you got this from. Yeah,
Came from the annual workshop with Gepford. Basically, this is the the number of primary plan changes, when you're talking about moving from DCs to DBs or DBs to DCs. And all of these counties basically make up, with populations between 21 and 42,000 people. So they're relatively smaller type
Yeah,
communities.
one of those counties I've done some work with, they are not in great financial shape. I imagine a number of those counties are small, rural, agricultural counties who are really struggling through this economy. And they fear now how they're gonna continue to provide benefit plan. And that's why they're moving. Most small counties, I wouldn't even have ever suggested they get into one because they really just don't have the resources and the people to pull that off. They need to do it to find a contribution plan. So it doesn't surprise me.
I mean, I do want to echo what Joe was saying. My concern for this is not our current state of the ship. It's looking 20 years out for that next ship when it comes in. So I am, based on what you guys have said, we're in good shape as far as our pension plan and the funding and everything. And, thank goodness that, we're in a community that's still growing and prospering, even though it's ever so slowly right now. We're in a position, when the economy picks up, for everything to pick up. But I just think it's a long-term solution that we need to move forward with.
Well, and I think it's something that you have to look at what the reaction is to whatever your decision that you make. Because I think every community, Kevin goes in and looks at every one of these from defined benefit to defined contribution. There's the potential then to lessen your pool of qualified applicants for the various positions that you're looking for, because as you stated earlier, a significant question that's been presented to you is not so much the salary as it is now what are the benefits. So if you begin to look at those people coming in from the private, or your potential of that, attracting people from the private sector into public sector here, and you look at a change in that contribution, are you going to get into a process of training people, getting them up to speed, only to watch them leave and go to another, whether it's the private sector or another county that does provide that? So I'm not saying that one way or the other, I'm just saying that you have to be aware that if you make that decision, that there is a possible reaction to that if you have to be prepared for, or people in the future that are in your seats will have to make.
Specifically to that, Fayette County themselves made a change from DC to DB because they weren't being competitive enough in order to keep the personnel. They weren't on the benefits side, so they actually did make that change in order to provide a DB.
And the timing of this is good because we really need, you're doing a pay study in essence. We really need to see how governmental pay ranks with private pay after this recession. My gut feeling is it's a little bit closer, but there's still a discrepancy. I'm not suggesting it's equal in one way. And in that case, you're right. You have to look at your benefits package to help bridge that difference. But it's a good timing that we get that information so we kind of gauge what would be the impact if you lowered your benefits. You got the same problems with health insurance, basically. Those are your two key factors, health insurance and retirement. And that pay scale study will help us know sort of where things stand related to private sector pay.
You can always adjust your defined benefits plan or your contribution plan when, I don't think you have to look at it like it's less than a defined benefits plan, because you can do a matching on a certain percent, you can affect that matching, you can affect your vested rate, so you can make it palatable where it can be a positive instead of a negative. It just takes a long-term load off of the county, and it's a more pay-as-you-go sort of program.
Which kind of what we got to see. Even right now, if I left the city, I've contributed certain amount each pay period in which the city had matched, a small percent, over the years. Anytime if I was to leave, I can get a lump sum out if I want. It's a very interesting program they have.
Yeah, the defined contributions are good for a couple of reasons. Number one, any money the employee puts in, regardless of vesting, they get to take with them. Obviously, it's their money. They have to be vested to take the match money. The flip side of that is that they are managing their money, and you need good people to help them do that. Because they have to make decisions of where to invest and where not to invest it. The county's not just
Right.
so, but on the other hand, once they walk out the door, they have their pool of money in their own account, and they're off and running. And the county side is really good.
Amen.
Are there any other questions concerning the retirement report that either Harrison or Kevin addressed?
Do we need to come up, not today, but in the future, with some timeline where we settle the issue Carter brought up about projecting down in the future, continuing on the defined benefit plan?
Well, I'm hoping, based on what Harrison has told me, based on what Kevin has told me, that by the time we complete this analysis from Dr. Condrey and the data that y'all are obtaining now, perhaps by mid-year, you'll be able to give this is the cost, these are your options. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, and keeping in mind a caveat there that it's all projected, and we'll do the best we can to get the people to provide their, and it's just not, a factual, oh, we're gonna save you 10 years from now $1 million a year. You can't get there. It's just gonna have
You're
to
looking for a
be.
black and white answer, you're not gonna
You're
get it.
probably not gonna get it.
Yeah, I think you can come back.
But I think we can probably get more data on like why other counties chose to do it. What their thinking was is they went through the process. There are also people who may have been here 5 years who will actually want to forget the plan they were under and go to the defined contribution. It really depends on where they are in the cycle. So
I think what staff is saying to you is that if you ask them today, they would say, we don't see enough evidence to make a change. If you're asking us to continue to look at it, which I think you are, to determine what changes we should make, or if any, then it's going to take a little more assessment, which should take us probably another 3 to 4 months.
correct,
Fair to say.
correct.
And I'm agree, we see, you're gonna wait till Dr. Condrey finishes all his work, that makes sense, but.
Yeah, that gives us a good bit more data to look at. I think that's important. It's not a factual answer. We're talking about the well-being of your employees who've gone through a number of years with no pay raises. And I'm aware of that. I'm very conscientious about that. So I don't want to suggest something that they feel is just gonna be wrong for them. And not just them, really, they're not gonna be impacted. It's your future employees.
I will tell you before we leave here at 5 o'clock today, I will be asked, when are the county commissioners cutting out our retirement?
And we are definitely not cutting out retirement.
I will bet anybody here a steak dinner, I will be asked that before we leave today.
And how many times?
Can I get a sticker?
At least one.
You steak dinner, not just anything in there about it at all.
Matthew wants to steak dinner.
And then we'll run out of this room to.
And look, I'm not, and this is not an idea to short the employees. I think it can be beneficial to the employees. I'm not looking to short the employees, I'm looking to secure the county.
Absolutely.
But I'm not looking to short the employees. I want it to be a beneficial, positive thing that the employees would want to take advantage of, not something that they're forced into.
Correct. And ultimately, I know that the commission would not do anything like that would force anything on anybody. You're not gonna change the game plan in the middle of the game.
And I can tell you as a person that's in a plan like that, it do make you feel a little better if you step away. You got a serious nest egg, you know, that you can go a while with.
Well, again, the key is that we have a responsibility from the fiscal responsibility of looking at it to see the viability of whether or not it's going to be successful down the road for the benefit of the employees that participate as much as anything else. So I agree that, you know, as we move forward with it, it is something that you always need to be conscious of where your retirement plans are going, what kind of decisions that you need to make sure that it is there at the end, but at the same time, you know, are you going in the right direction? Do you need to change directions or what have you? But to say that it needs to be a decision that one of those knee-jerk reaction types decisions, absolutely not. This is something that if that decision gets made, it's going to be made a while down the road. But I agree. Get your information, have it available, have you a process that yearly it can be calculated with relative ease at that point. Once you kind of build the system, then you can always kind of be looking at it to see where it's going. So that's kind of the way I'd like to see it move forward.
Amen.
Okay. Harrison, God bless you, you're on your own.
Appreciate everything.
Go forth and multiply.
Yeah, go find some money.
We need another ballpark.
Go find some money.
They're good for sales.
I did for sales tax.
I know, y'all want my next.
That's all. I'm coming kind of right across the street from you. My subdivision over in the
Let's go ahead and move on through. We are running a little bit ahead, which is very, very good. Let's move right on into our wrap-up portion. With that, what I really would like to do is kind of back up, if you might say, and take each item. Is there anything that you made some notes on? Is there anything there that you might need some additional information on, or that you want to take a few minutes and review on any of it, whether it be the audit, whether it be finance, whether it be splosh list? Again, just if you made any notes, if you got anything there that you'd like to address, then just have at it.
I had a question just come to me about retirement. I know in some local governments, they offer different retirement plans for directors. Do we have to hear, Joe?
For
Directors.
like
Department heads, like best year at 5 versus the 10 or things like that.
They're all, everything's 10.
Everybody's 10 across the board, because I mean, some.
all the same.
Anything else? Is there anything here that
I'd like y'all to look in your inside pocket of your book. You'll see that your budget calendar is listed there that you adopted. You will note March 10th. We have March 10th and 11th scheduled for you. We will begin at 8:30 and we'll go to 5 on the 10th, and then we'll do the same thing on Tuesday, and we will break at we'll end at 3:10, and then you'll be back for your regular meeting. So this is a breakdown of all the individual or offices that will be coming before you with their budget.
any questions on that, the structure of it? We're free to appointments that have already been set. It's gonna be very, very important. It's gonna be a good opportunity for each one of the commissioners to hear from, these elected officials and outside, agencies about their budgets and what their requests are and what their needs are.
Other than that, I want to say one thing. As far as the boat grandfather deal, I really want to forward you and the page for moving forward, to push this fast to get that taken care of. I really appreciate it.
Same here, you know.
Yeah. Well, it needed to be done. I mean, it's just one of those things, and so, again, I agree. I'd love to have it ready for, Red Valley season, but that might not be the case. We do have, there's, a process that's in place that we have to move through to get it all done, but certainly on the priority list, it's one of the top things. So I think it is important from, as we know, on the Lowndes County side, specifically on the Alcohol River, there are no other accesses that I'm aware of. That's not right. I think that would be a nice asset. I really do believe that where it's going at, right there off the Highway 84, is going to be something that community and that side of the county will be able to utilize, and not only that, be able to utilize in a safety and a safe manner as well. Where that, I think it was well documented that it wasn't very safe down there.
That even the drawing and outline that he had was a lot better than I would imagine, talking about plenty of space, the whole shebang.
Yeah, put a lady and phone call and all that, yeah, that would
I make the motion, we adjourn.
Well, please be aware that tomorrow afternoon, beginning at 1 o'clock, will be the opportunity for